adventure of gender literacy and food intake. So for my project, I decided to compare gender equality through ratio of literate young girls to literate young boys and food intake per day in 2 countries, Iran and India. Can you guys see? Okay. So I collected data from a resource called Gapminder, which is kind of like a hub of data, and it collects values and numbers on a variety of different subjects from different resources, such as World Bank and things like that. The value was presented as a ratio of literate females to literate males ages 15 to 24, and then multiplied by 100. So if there was 1 girl to every 2 boys, 1 literate girl to every 2 literate boys, the value would be 50 instead of 0.5. This information is very important because 90 million of the 130 million children who are not in school are girls, and I think it's important to think about that. Either value the literacy or the food intake, but it was difficult due to the lack of data on the topic to determine anything concrete. So the X value right here is the ratio of literacy, and the Y is the kilocalories consumed per day per person. And this is for India. I chose India because it's a developing country, and as you can see in both graphs, as food intake increases, so does equality in gender literacy. So the average food intake for India is around 3,000 calories. So next, I made a ratio of the data. So I compared, I made a ratio of the calories consumed to the literacy ratio, and I compared this so that we would be able to compare it over time. So the Y value is the new ratio, and the X value is years since 1976, which is where the first bit of data on this topic begins. So this is for Iran and this is for India, and these are the equations that model the trends. There isn't actually, one of the things that was pretty surprising to me was that there wasn't that much of a correlation. You can see like a general trend, which is downward, which means that since the ratio of literacy is on the bottom, it means that the ratio is getting closer and closer to equal more quickly than people are eating more. But it didn't correlate that much, and so the graphs are mostly useful to see trends, I think, and not to determine concrete data. So then I compared the 2 curves, blue is Iran and red is India. They eat more, and there is a lower literacy equality in Iran, and they eat less, and there's a higher literacy equality in India, and so that's what this shows. I chose exponential because people are never really going to stop eating, and if they did, it would come to 0. Yeah, so it's impossible to determine both the gender literacy and the food intake from this graph with the time, but if you have the average food intake per day, you can determine the gender literacy through the equation on a previous slide. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Any questions? Caitlin?
Why did you choose this topic?
Well, if you talk to me for 5 minutes, you know that food and gender equality are both very important topics to me, so it's pretty much I was originally going to compare food prices and increase in population, but as I was looking around on Gapminder, I saw that they had the gender literacy data, and it was like a lot more interesting to me. But it was difficult because there was not very much information on the topic. Most of the I only had like 4 or 5 pieces of data per country, and they were taken every 10 or every 15 years, or actually every 5 as well. So yeah, it was a little bit difficult, but I think that you can see the general trend, which was really interesting.
You said something about 3,000 calories. Is that per day?
Yeah, per day. Per average person.
Do you know what the calorie intake in the States is?
yeah, it's, I think it's 3,700 or something, which is a lot, but, yeah, I think it's 3,700. It's not like net calories, so it doesn't, include running or doing exercise or manual labor or anything like that, but yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.